Hi guys, and welcome today to my review of a little certain thing called American Horror Story Season 5 Hotel. I had such high hopes for this season and I was so disappointed. Okay, so before we get into anything, major spoilers abound, so if you don't want to know anything about Season 5, then just abandon all ye who enter. But if you've seen Season 5 or you just kind of aren't particularly bothered, stay tuned and we'll have a little talk about it. We'll have a little talk. Okay, so Hotel is set, surprisingly, in a hotel. The Hotel Cortez in California, very close to where Murder House was set. I think one of the characters makes a comment that it's like 10 miles down the road. So proximically, the first and fifth season are very close. But this season just seemed to be where they were just shoving every other season. They were shoving a connection to Season 5. Which, had it been a feature of the other seasons, I wouldn't have minded so much. But the fact that there weren't those type of connections they weren't in Murder House, but then again you wouldn't really have any connections to make. There were no connections like that in Asylum or Coven, which, you know, I don't know how I feel about there being so many connections to Hotel. Anyway, so there were so many plot lines, I can't even really say who the main character was. I think you're supposed to take away the fact that the hotel is the main character, but no, that is not good enough, right? If you're going to have a series like this, you have to have a human protagonist, someone to share the progression of the storyline with. You just don't have that. I mean, you start off the season thinking, okay, John Lowe, detective, trying to find the Ten Commandments killer. Okay, he's our main character. Oh, no, we hired Lady Gaga for some weird reason, and so she's gonna be the main character. And no, Ramona, badass vampire who wants revenge on the Countess. Oh, is she gonna be a main character? Iris becomes a vampire, gets more confident. Is she going to be a main character? No. Liz, best character ever produced on American Horror Story. And they decided not to do, well, they did a fair amount with her, but she wasn't the main character by any means. So you've got so many plot threads. You've got the Ten Commandments killer. You've got Lady Gaga and all that happens with the blood of virus things. Just like, get over yourselves. You're vampires, right? Your rules might be a bit different, but you're vampires. Stop trying to be new, saying, oh, it's a blood virus. Oh. Nah, mate. Now you're vampires. Accept it and move on. So you've got everything that was related to that. So even when John's wife Alex is turned into a vampire, and she turns that boy who then turns his entire middle school class into vampires. You have Donovan and Tristan's romance with the Countess, and then Tristan's romance with Liz, which was the most beautiful storyline, and the fact that there was a lack of resolution for so long was really upsetting because it was the most beautiful and real relationship in the entire series, and I was glad kind of the way they ended it, okay? That was a good point, right? But that's because I love Liz. It's not so much that the rest of it was really that good. So, in addition to that, you've got everything with Iris and Donovan. You've got Scarlett baking banoffee pies with her nan. You've got Holden and the whole abduction storyline, which, was anything ever resolved about that? No. You've got Sally and her abandonment issues, and the addiction demon, which we never got any closure on. We never found out what was the deal with the addiction demon, and I appreciate the fact that some things have to be left to the audience's imagination, and it's fun to theory craft, but that would have been something that we needed some form of closure with that we just didn't get. So I'm genuinely disappointed about that. But then again, I didn't find that much entertainment in the Countess and her storyline. So, and Bartholomew, right? You introduce Bartholomew for one episode. He sneaks out in John's bag, and he then nearly gets shot at. And then you never see the little bastard again. Just like, what's the point in having him? You could have got rid of the whole Bartholomew storyline, and the series would have been no different. It would have made no difference to the ending. The Countess doesn't even try and go back for Bartholomew when she leaves the Cortez. He was pretty much just an excuse for Gaga to get mad at him, to get mad at Will Drake, so that she would have an excuse to kill him for his money. It's like, I would have liked closure with Bartholomew, because I just assume now that everyone in the Cortez is dead that he's just kind of chilling and Mummy is just looking after him for the rest of eternity. But, you know, we'll never know. Anyway, right. So, the plot threads. I thought the Ten Commandments killer plotline was going to be a really good idea. I was invested in it because I love the film Seven, and it took quite a lot of inspiration from that. I did not like what they did with it. Literally any other character could have been the Ten Commandments killer, and I would have been sort of okay with it. You had the potential to make it any character that you have introduced us to, and there were far too many in my opinion. And then you make it the most obvious character, the one who the audience can just clock onto straight away. There's no mystery to it. I managed to guess who it was in the first episode. I wanted to like that storyline, but I just didn't. So everything that happened consequential to that, I didn't like. It just seemed to be a convenient way to have March have a prominent role in sort of the Yoda and Luke Skywalker training. Well, the murder version of Yoda and Luke Skywalker training. Just no. It could have been really cool, but I wasn't invested in it at all. The Countess, I didn't like her character. I thought Donovan was a bit of a drip. I was upset when Tristan died. But for the Countess, I don't care about her. Therefore, I don't care what happens to her. I didn't care about Alex. I didn't care about John. I didn't care about Holden, probably because I couldn't understand anything the actor was saying. So when it really comes down to it, if you don't care about the characters, then none of the storylines are going to have an effect. And I think there were too many actors. There were far, far, far too many characters in this season. And I think this is where Hotel had the potential to be my favourite. It had the potential to be like Murder House. But you see, the difference between Murder House and Hotel is that Murder House had a central focus. Murder House had 3 main characters and then had side characters who you became emotionally invested with. But you didn't have something like 20 actors probably in the space of an episode. You saw that the Harmons were the main protagonists of the story, and you had Constance and Tate and what was her name? Adelaide. They all were sort of integrated in their own ways, and it was all linked, and that was cool, right? I like that. Asylum, you had a very strict focus on Lana. She was definitely the definitive protagonist. You followed her, you looked at her story. It worked, and even, I hate to say it because I hated Coven, but they had a real focus too, which meant that you may not have liked the characters, but you did have some connection with them. Whereas in Hotel, you've got like a new character being introduced every week, and then you just have constant switches, and you had Finn Whitrock play 2 characters within the space of a season. It's just... You could have technically got rid of Valentino and Natasha. You didn't need them, technically. You didn't need Darren Chris's cameo. He was just in it to be killed off within about 15 minutes, if that. There were too many characters, which stopped you building bonds with certain characters, because, okay, certain characters were given more screen time than others, but you didn't really get to know them that well, with the exception of Liz. Now, Liz was the best character by far because she was the most developed, and you genuinely... It's probably down to Dennis O'Hara as an actor being absolutely phenomenal and making the audience feel sympathy with Liz. She's just so witty, and she was a brilliant character, and now she's stuck at the Cortez forever, but she gets Tristan, so it's all good for her. But she was about one of the only characters I felt any emotional connection to. When any of the other characters died, I did not care, because I was just like, oh, who are you again? Which, when people died in Murder House or Asylum, you genuinely felt sorry for them. Like when, spoilers for Asylum, but when Alma kills Grace, or when Grace even dies the first time when she gets shot by the security guard, that was sad. You know, you felt an emotional connection to those characters, and you didn't want them to die the way that they do. Whereas here, it's just like, okay, so you died. Okay, cool. We'll see you next episode, because you'll be walking around. Unless your name's Tristan, in which case you'll sod off until the end of the season, until Liz has been killed by the Countess, and then I'll pop up. I'll pop up then for you. I had no emotional attachment when John died. The fact that he can only come back to the Cortez one night a year, I didn't care. He did terrible things, and to even be allowed to come back for one day, for Devil's Night, I also kind of felt like there don't seem to be repercussions for anything. Nobody really suffers for anything that they do wrong. Like, you've got the Countess. Technically she has suffered because she's now trapped with March for the rest of her life. But she got a very quick, kind of painless death, as it were. John didn't have to pay for what he did. He didn't end up going to prison or anything like that. He died outside the Cortez and gets to come back a day. Which, me when you're dead. No, one day a year? Okay. Yeah. It was hard to form emotional bonds, which really brought this season down in my estimations. So, the things that I really liked about this season was Liz Taylor, best character ever. The cinematography was really pretty, and the costumes were gorgeous. Some of the stuff that Lady Gaga wears is beautiful. But the soundtrack was on point, apart from that really weird scene with Donovan dancing to Hotline Bling. And I'm just sitting there just thinking, why? Why? You could have literally used any other song, and they didn't use it in She Gets Revenge, because you've got She Wants Revenge, She Gets Revenge. Yeah. And they don't use the same song for that little section in She Gets Revenge, so they obviously learnt something there. I love the soundtrack apart from that. It's a very listenable soundtrack. And before it goes out of my mind, this is another thing I find a kind of injustice. The fact that Lady Gaga won an award for her role. You could have replaced her with a broom and I wouldn't have noticed the difference. She wasn't horrible. She wasn't terrible. But I found the Countess to be very monotonous and to particularly have that much of an emotional range, which anybody could have been the Countess. Like, you could have had Lily Rabe as the Countess. You could have had, well, you could have brought back Jessica if you'd had her. Oh, you have been missed, Jessica Lange. You have been missed. You could have literally used any other actor. You didn't have to use Lady Gaga. But you know why she was used? Because she's famous. Because she's a singer, which instantly means she can be an actor. Don't know how that logic works. But the fact that she won an award for that is a complete and utter injustice. Just, oh, I don't understand it. But anyway, that was my review of Hotel. Out of 10... this is a tricky one. So my ranking of American Horror Story seasons is Asylum is my favourite, then Murder House, then it would probably be Freak Show, then no, because Freak Show, Hotel is guilty of the exact same sin as Freak Show. There are too many characters. So it would probably be Asylum, Murder House, Coven, Freak Show, Hotel. And, oh, excuse me. I had such high expectations, so I'm probably a bit biased because I expected so much. And so I'm going to have to give it a 6. 6 out of 10, and that is being very generous. Obviously it depends on your preference of how the show is run, but it was, for me, it was too violent for the sake of being violent, too sexy for the point of being shocking. It does it for the point of, which I did not like it. I did not like it. It kind of felt like it was trying too hard to be shocking, which I kind of just turn off at that point. So, you know, if you like the season like Coven and Freak Show, then you will probably like Hotel. But my personal opinion, I didn't like it, and I can only hope that season 6 is better, because otherwise Hotel might be the last season that I watch of American Horror Story. But anyway, that's what I thought. Comment below, let me know what you guys think, and I will see you next time with another video. See you later!